G'day, ladies and gents, and welcome back to War Thunder. Today is the day where I become a filthy arcade scrub. Yes, that's right, we're going to be having a look at the arcade battle mode in the form of Tanks Arcade, which, honestly, it gets a bad rap for no real good reason. Arcade battles are considered to be sort of inferior to realistic battles in general, but honestly, I consider them to be more of a side grade. They're different, and they're good for different reasons. Realistic is obviously a lot more realistic. It's tied to being able to get the first shot off. It's being tied to being able to spot your opponents first. And it sort of requires a little bit more teamwork, coordination, map knowledge, etc. Arcade doesn't really involve that sort of stuff. Instead, it's sort of more about positioning yourself. Because you know where your opponents are, it becomes more of a sort of tactical game where you sort of have to position yourself and find ways to work yourself around, kind of like a chessboard. Now, for me, I kind of like that. And having a sort of break from realistic battles and coming to arcade every once in a while isn't really a bad idea anyway. If you tend to get sick of War Thunder in general, jumping into arcade or jumping into a different game mode tends to be a little bit of a good way to freshen yourself up, as well as sort of finishing off some grinding or, just taking some time to play a certain vehicle that you might enjoy or you might have rediscovered, such as the AVRE for me. Now, the AVRE comes with a 165mm donga, which lacks length but makes up for that in girth. Unfortunately, it's not really great on the post-penetration damage, so I guess that Panther can live for another 30 seconds. Anyway, moving swiftly on, I get pushed in the back by a King Tiger, which is very nice. That tends to happen a lot in arcade, I noticed. I'm going to go for another speculative shot here, perhaps just through the smoke to pick up that Panther, but unfortunately the shell doesn't make the mark. In fact, it doesn't even come close. So I have to sort of wait another 20 seconds, and in that time I can take a look at the minimap. You can see that sort of medium tank just popped up and popped out. So here he is. That poor little Panther F can see me. He's turned his turret. He's fired. I think it was either at me or at someone else, but unfortunately he decides to get oofed, I suppose. Now, the Centurion AVRE, a lot of people see it as a meme tank, and rightly so. It definitely is. However, I definitely think it is worth the money, and I made a video when this thing came out a long time ago suggesting that it definitely was worth that $50 that you paid for. Now, depends on, obviously, how much money you have disposable to you, but if you ever wanted a fun premium tank, when this thing is on discount, this is a really good buy. It does enough post-penetration damage. It can basically penetrate everything at its battle rating, except that. I don't know how it didn't pen. I must have gotten really unlucky, hit the corner, and it went onto the flat side of the turret cheeks. It doesn't really matter, because I still have a nice, decent reload. It's about 20 seconds, and this King Tiger is probably going to get clapped again, just because Hesh is best, or Besh, Holy Besh, just absolutely destroys when it touches an ammo rack. All it has to do is just touch an ammo rack with a single fragment and the whole tank goes boom. Kind of like Mike. Except Mike only sometimes goes boom. And now he works for Gaijin. And getting his emails are really fun. No, Mike, I am not saying senpai in a video. She. So, Carnarvon is the next victim of my 165mm Besh shell. Unfortunately for me, I'm starting to lose teammates around here because this particular gentleman, this fine distinguished Vickers MBT, is about to sort of perish, unfortunately. Now, as for the Nashorn who killed him, he perishes by a really weird shot. That shot, I thought, donked itself into the rock, which wouldn't have done anything, but gladly for me, it manages to go straight through, and I get the kill anyway. Don't know how that happens. I'm just going to take it. So, moving swiftly on, we need to sort of push on that B cap, but I don't really know who's on that ridge off to the right, and I don't really want to be the victim of a crossfire. So I'm biding my time. I'm looking at that minimap there. And now up comes a heavy tank and a medium tank. They can very, very easily push over the ridge if they wanted, and they would be able to take me out. My team is having a really hard time dealing with them, and at the same time, I need to take the cap. So I need to do something, and I need to do something fast. I can see that there might be something traveling through that little corridor or that little sort of valley there, and it turns out that it is a Jagdpanther. You'll see him there on the minimap, and there he is now just appearing as a marker. Now I'm going to push out and try and get him because you can see him on the side, but the Conway decides that he wants to go first so he can take the shell instead. Unfortunately for Mr. Conway, he doesn't have much armor, and so a high explosive squash head or Besh shell will do the job just fine. So, what else have we got to do? While I'm waiting for that reload, again, I can have a look at the minimap and I can make sure that my positioning is not too far up, and I can also go for that Jagdpanther. But fortunately for the Jagdpanther, he's smart enough than putting himself in front of a 165mm shell, and he decides to bug out of there. He ain't having any of that yet. Maybe he will soon. So, I need to sort of reverse myself, and you can see that there's someone coming out of the donut. There's a tank destroyer there, and my teammate is about to get surrounded. In fact, he ends up getting taken out by, I believe, the Kugelblitz, which is really unfortunate. So that means that I'm basically the only one to deny the B cap, and there is still that tank there that could easily poke itself around the ridge at any time. So I need to be really, really careful. I do not want to end up in a crossfire, and this is what I'm talking about when I mention the chessboard type gameplay that Arcade, or at least markers, afford. It's a lot more high octane, it's a lot more tactical, and that's something that I really, really like. So, I'm going to continue to sort of bide my time. I don't want to peek out and waste a shot. If I was in a tank that had a higher reload, I probably would have just gone out and looked for a shot, especially considering that I'd only have to wait maybe 5 or 6 seconds, maybe 8 or 9, depending on the tank. And in this case, I can't really do that. So I have to sort of bide my time. And unfortunately, that's given the enemies the B cap, which just puts a triple cap on us. And that doesn't really, doesn't mean that we're going to lose, but it certainly puts us at a massive disadvantage. And that's something that I need to figure out pretty quickly. But I don't even have time for that. The high octane action of arcade battles means that there's a Hanomag Henschel up there on the ridge and a Panther F who is hopefully going to peek out just a little bit of turret for me to shoot. And there we go. I see that sort of cupola, and the Besh does the rest of the work. F in chat for the Panther. So what I do now is I go back to my little rock, because this little rock is going to protect me from anything coming from B, and it's also going to give me a bit of a better firing solution on anything that comes from that sort of C area, from that little ridge there. Now, the Jagdpanther has decided that he wants to come back, and he decided to lose his eyes, so he ends up losing his entire tank as a result of that, and I managed to get myself another neat, juicy little kill. Unfortunately, I don't even have time to rest on my laurels, because I get strafed out from behind, and a Super Pershing is starting to come in from the front. I'm very worried about what might be coming in from the back as well, and so it's almost game over here. There's no way I can really take back that B cap with the limited time and the limited capacity, the fire rate that I have. So maybe I can take out this Super Pershing and start to sort of topple that over while my team takes the C cap. I go for the running shot on the Super Ballsack, and unfortunately I only managed to boop him in the nose, which doesn't really do much damage anyway. Now, he has a higher reload than me, so I decided it would be a wise idea to go out and sit in front of this JPZ, which is obviously the big stupid juice thing to do. Drinking a whole jug of stupid juice is my best ability, and that's exactly what I've decided to do here. I go for the shot on the JPZ, and my tank is just too tall to sit and shoot the JPZ, which really, really sucks. Now, I'm about to get killed by this Super Pershing. All it's going to take is 1 or 2 more shots that are well enough placed, and I'm going to pop smoke as a last resort, but fortunately for me, the tickets run out, and I don't die. Now, I would have loved to have continued that battle, but unfortunately, I couldn't really stay up with my team, and I didn't have that rate of fire to be any sort of use to my team. But that's arcade battles for you. High octane and really, really enjoyable, actually. It's definitely worth giving it a go, and if you are someone that really likes RB, definitely dropping in is not a bad idea. Anyway, ladies and gents, thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.